Shanghai buzzed with its usual rhythm. Cars honking, people moving in perfect chaos, the glass towers glinting under the morning sun. But Claudia Anchi wasn't paying attention to any of that. She parked her custom-made matte silver sedan right in front of the towering Orchid Crest Hotel. The building stood like a polished monument of wealth, power, and taste. Claudia smoothed down the lapel of her tailored black blazer and wheeled herself out of the driver's seat and into her wheelchair with practiced grace. The ramp auto extended, and within seconds, she was moving confidently toward the grand entrance. 5 years. 5 long, painful years. And today, she was back in the city that nearly destroyed her. She wasn't here for closure. She was here for work. At least, that's what she kept telling herself. The elevator to the conference floor was lined with mirrored panels, each one reflecting a different version of her, strong, distant, elegant, but also quietly fractured. The doors opened with a soft chime. The meeting had already begun. Executives, architects, and top designers murmured amongst themselves as Claudia wheeled in. Every pair of eyes turned to her, but she barely flinched. She was used to the stares. Then she saw him. Liang Wei stood at the head of the sleek glass table. His expression was unreadable at first. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. The moment their gazes met, something in his chest shifted. The room fell silent, and for the briefest second, time bent. "Miss Anchi," he said after a pause, his voice low, measured, but slightly hoarse. "Welcome." Claudia gave a polite nod, her voice calm and even. "Thank you. I look forward to contributing to this project." Wei nodded, but his eyes didn't leave her as she took her place across the room. The meeting proceeded, timelines, budgets, interior concepts. Claudia spoke only when necessary, every word carefully weighed. Her professionalism was flawless. Her distance calculated. But Wei could barely focus. His mind was reeling. Claudia. His Claudia. The woman who had once held his heart, and still did. He had never forgotten her. The woman who had kissed him on the bridge 5 years ago, and then walked away after his confession. That day they had spent the entire time together, laughing, walking, sharing dreams. The date had started in the morning and ended at the old bridge that overlooked a quiet lake, lit only by the glow of distant city lights. A chilly breeze had rustled Claudia's hair as she stood facing him, her fingers trembling even though she had tried to hide it. "Wei," she had said softly as she stepped closer. He had taken her hand gently, holding it like it might disappear. His voice had trembled with emotion. "I love you, Claudia," he had said. "I've loved you for so long, even when I tried not to. I want to build a future with you, one where we would chase dreams together. Not just as partners in work, but in life." Claudia's smile had wavered as tears glistened in her eyes. "I love you too," she had whispered. So much it hurt. Then she had leaned forward and kissed him, soft, lingering, and full of heartbreak. And just like that, she had let go of his hand, whispered goodbye, and run away into the night, leaving him frozen on that bridge, breathless and broken. That had been the last time he saw her. Until today. Back to the present. Wei kept watching her throughout the meeting as she confidently presented her designs. She hadn't lost her spark. If anything, she seemed even more brilliant now. When the meeting finally ended and most people had left, Claudia turned her wheelchair toward the door. "Claudia," Wei called out, his voice low but firm. She paused. Then he walked toward her, standing directly in front of her. "Why did you leave like that 5 years ago? And what happened to you?" There was a crack in his voice, anger, hurt, confusion. Claudia looked up at him, calm and composed. "Mr. Liang, if you have concerns about the project, we can address them through the appropriate channels. This is not the place." "Claudia, don't do this." "Good day, Mr. Liang." She didn't wait for him to speak again. She rolled away without another word. Wei stood there, fists clenched at his sides, staring at the closed doors. The pain from 5 years ago surged all over again. "Jean," he barked at his assistant. "Find out what happened to her. Everything." Jean blinked. "Yes, sir. Right away." That night, Liang Wei sat alone in his penthouse living room, a glass of untouched whiskey on the table beside him. He wasn't looking at the city skyline or thinking about the meeting. He was staring at a photograph. It was old, faded slightly at the edges, the colors worn, but the emotion untouched. He and Claudia stood together on a beach in Busan, wind in their hair, her laughter frozen in time as he wrapped an arm around her from behind. Her smile in that photo was real, warm and full of life. His thumb brushed over her face. "What happened to you?" he whispered, voice thick with something unspoken. He hadn't stopped thinking about her since she walked into that conference room. The way she had looked at him, with calm restraint, as if they were strangers. The way she rolled away without hesitation. He tightened his grip on the photo. Then his phone rang. Wei tore his eyes from the picture and answered. It was Jeanne. There's nothing, Jeanne said hesitantly. Her medical records, her travel history. It's like someone erased it all. There's no trace of her accident. No rehabilitation records. Not even a change of address. Wei's jaw clenched. His gaze shifted from the photo to the city lights outside. Someone had made sure Claudia disappeared. But why? That same night, Claudia wheeled herself into the apartment she shared with her roommate and close friend, Maylin, a spirited Chinese woman with a heart of gold. Maylin popped her head out from the kitchen. Hey, how did it go? Claudia hesitated, managing a tight smile. It went fine. Maylin narrowed her eyes. You saw him, didn't you? Claudia nodded slightly, not trusting herself to speak. Maylin walked over and stood beside her. Are you okay? Claudia inhaled. I handled it professionally. I stayed calm. But your heart's still breaking, Maylin finished softly. Claudia didn't deny it. Do you want to talk about it? Not now, Claudia murmured. Thanks, May. Maylin nodded, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. I'll make some tea. Claudia wheeled herself into her room and quietly closed the door. She hadn't been able to focus since returning home. She hadn't worked on anything for the hotel. Every time she tried, his face appeared in her mind. She stared blankly at a framed sketch of the Orchid Crest Hotel from 10 years ago. Back then, she and Liang Wei had dreamt of building it together. She tried to hold it in. She tried to be strong. But the moment her hands touched the sketch, the tears came. She wept. Not because she was in Shanghai. Not because she had seen him again. But because the love she had for him was still there. She still loved him. So much. Meanwhile, in a mansion on the other side of the city, Mr. Liang, Wei's father, sat by a fireplace, a glass of aged scotch in his hand. A knock at the door. His personal assistant entered, head slightly bowed. Sir, there's news. The woman. Claudia Anchi, she's alive. The glass in Mr. Liang's hand cracked under pressure. What did you just say? He asked, voice dangerously quiet. She survived. She's paralyzed but alive. She's in Shanghai now and is leading the Orchid Crest renovation. Mr. Liang slowly stood up and turned toward his secretary, eyes darkening. I told you to make sure she was gone. She was supposed to be, sir. We thought. I don't pay you to think, Mr. Liang snapped. That woman is a distraction. I spent years pulling my son back into the fold by letting her disappear through that accident. She was never meant to return. You failed in your task. You'll take 30 lashes, he ordered coldly. After that, find where she lives. Keep eyes on her. And make sure she doesn't get too comfortable. The assistant nodded and silently retreated. Mr. Liang walked to the window, gazing out at the sleeping city. He had silenced Claudia once. He would not let her ruin things again. The morning sun poured harshly through the tall, arched windows of the Zhao mansion, casting light over a storm brewing between father and daughter. Zhao Lifan stood in the middle of her father's study, fists clenched at her sides, lips trembling, but her chin lifted in defiance. Mr. Zhao Minghua, the formidable tycoon, sat behind his grand desk, radiating cold authority. The engagement is final, Lifan, he said flatly. There will be no further discussion. I don't want to marry Liang Wei, she said, her voice steady though her heart pounded. He doesn't love me. I don't love him. Why are you forcing this? Because love is not required for marriage in our world. Loyalty is, he snapped, rising to face her. This alliance is about legacy, something you clearly don't understand. I understand plenty, Lifan hissed, stepping back. I understand you're willing to sacrifice my happiness for business. But I won't be your bargaining chip. And with that, she turned and stormed out, slamming the doors behind her. A few moments later, Zhao Run, her mother, entered. Her silk gown trailed the floor as she walked in, her expression tinged with worry. Minghua, she said softly, you're pushing her too hard. Let her choose her own path. Mr. Zhao didn't look up. She's naive. She doesn't know what's best for herself. She's not a child. She's in love with Liang Jun, not Liang Wei. She's foolish then, he said curtly. Liang Jun has no position. No future. Zhao Ren's eyes narrowed. And what about her heart? Does that count for nothing? She'll learn, he said coldly. Like you did. That final jab silenced her. She turned and left, but not before a quiet smile tugged at her lips. One that said, "Leafin will never be like me." At the Orchid Crest Hotel, Claudia sat in her wheelchair in the West Wing lounge, surrounded by scaffolding and dust sheets. She reviewed digital design renderings on her tablet, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Excuse me," a warm voice said from behind. She looked up. A tall, casually dressed man stood there, his boyish smile disarming. "Didn't mean to interrupt," he added. "I'm Liang Wei's younger brother." Claudia blinked. "Oh, hello. I just wanted to say, your designs are amazing. The way you reimagine this space, it's not just stylish, it feels alive." Claudia gave a polite smile. "Thank you. I appreciate that." June stepped closer. "You know, I remember the day my brother was supposed to meet you. He was different. Excited. Nervous even. It was rare." Claudia's smile faded slightly. "And then," June continued softly, "he came back that night looking like he'd lost everything." Their eyes met. "He still loves you, you know," he added gently. Claudia looked away. "I'm not interested. I'm here to work, not reopen old wounds. Thanks for talking, but if that's all, you should be on your way." June nodded, the wall between them now evident. "Just don't shut the door all the way. That's all I'm saying." And with that, he left. Claudia returned to her tablet, her hands slightly trembling. Later that afternoon, at a cozy cafe near the hotel, Claudia wheeled toward the counter to pick up her coffee. As she reached for her cup, a voice called out her name. She turned. Zhao Lifan stood there, with surprise and recognition in her eyes. Claudia offered a short nod. "Who are you?" "I'm Zhao Lifan," she said, offering a hand. "May I speak with you for a moment?" "I'm heading back to my office," Claudia replied coolly. "Please, just a moment." Claudia hesitated. Lifan leaned in closer, lowering her voice. "I know you and Liang Wei were in a relationship, but you have to know he still loves you. He never moved on." Claudia's eyes narrowed. "That's not my concern anymore. I know it's hard to believe, but he was devastated after you left. He never looked at another woman the same way." Claudia reached for her coffee. "I'm supposed to marry him," Lifan continued. "But I don't love him, and he doesn't love me. What has that got to do with me?" Claudia asked flatly. "It has everything to do with you," Lifan said, her voice rising. People turned to glance in their direction, but Lifan didn't care. "I love someone else," she whispered. "But for him to be free of this marriage, he needs you." Claudia's tone turned ice cold. "Please move. I need to leave." "Claudia." "I said move," she repeated. The cafe went silent. Lifan stepped aside, shaken. Claudia rolled past her without another word. That same afternoon, Liang Jun entered his brother's office at the company headquarters. Wei looked up, exhausted. "I saw her," Jun said. Wei's eyes sharpened. "Who?" "Claudia. At the hotel. She looks strong, but she's not okay." Wei didn't reply. Jun stepped closer. "Do you think Father had something to do with what happened to her?" Wei leaned back. "I had Jun investigate. There's nothing. No records. Nothing about the accident." "Then it was him," Jun said darkly. "You know he's capable of that." Wei's jaw tensed. "I know," Jun added. "If it comes down to the company or Claudia, choose her. You can always build a new empire, but you'll never find another her. Don't end up like Mom, miserable and silenced." Then he left, his words lingering like smoke in the air. That night, Claudia returned home, emotionally drained. May greeted her with a warm smile and a steaming cup of tea. "You look like you need this." Claudia smiled faintly and rolled toward the window, staring out in silence. "You're still thinking about him, aren't you?" May asked gently. Claudia didn't reply. May walked over and stood beside her. "Why don't you give him a chance? You still love him, and he still loves you. Maybe this time, he'll really fight for you." After a long pause, Claudia whispered, "Loving him is what put me in this chair." Her voice cracked. "What if it happens again? What if next time I don't survive?" May placed a hand over hers. "If he truly loves you, he'll protect you. The only thing he wants is you." Claudia said nothing, but the pain in her eyes said everything. Meanwhile, at the Zhao residence, chaos erupted. "You humiliated this family," Mr. Zhao roared, slapping Lifan hard across the face. She stumbled back, clutching her cheek, eyes wide with shock and fury. "You embarrassed yourself, begging that woman to return to the man meant to be your fiancé. You mean your puppet?" she spat, venom lacing her words. He raised his hand again, but this time, she caught it midair. "I know what you did," she said, her voice cold and controlled. Mr. Zhao's face faltered. What? What are you talking about? You killed your own brother for this company, she whispered. And now, you're trying to ruin my life the same way. He froze. Then his voice thundered. How did you know this? Li Fan didn't answer. Instead, she took a step forward. Mr. Zhao, I suggest you never interfere with my marriage choices again. Who I marry is my business, not yours. His eyes burned with fury, but she didn't flinch. If you try to force my hand, she continued, her voice rising with calm menace, I'll release every piece of evidence I have. The truth about your crimes, including the murder of your own brother, will be made public. The whole country will know who you truly are. Silence fell like a blade. Her mother, Zhao Run, sat quietly nearby, her expression unreadable, but a faint smile tugged at her lips. Li Fan gave her father one final glare, then turned and stormed off to her room, slamming the door behind her. Moments later, Zhao Run rose and followed her daughter, leaving Mr. Zhao alone in the cavernous living room. With a roar of rage, he hurled his whiskey glass at the floor, shattering it into glittering shards. After several deep breaths, he picked up his phone and dialed. A cold voice answered. She's back, Zhao Minghua said. Claudia Anchi. She's in Shanghai. I know, came the icy reply from Liang Rongsheng. One of my men has eyes on her. What now? Zhao growled. Before she causes more trouble? If she crosses the line again, Rongsheng said evenly, she won't survive a second time. Zhao's expression hardened. Understood. He hung up. That same night, as Liang Rongsheng prepared to retire, the doors to his study burst open. Liang Wei stormed in, eyes blazing with fury. I know the truth, he said, voice trembling with barely restrained rage. You caused her accident, father. You wanted her dead. But you didn't know she survived, not until now. Rongsheng looked up slowly from his desk, completely unbothered. You're becoming a nuisance, he said calmly. You're a monster, Wei spat. You've always been one. So this doesn't even surprise me. She's still alive, isn't she? Rongsheng said flatly, as if that fact were nothing more than an inconvenience. Wei took a step forward, eyes locked on his father's. If you ever touch her again, you'll do what? Rongsheng interrupted, voice like ice. Disobey me again? I already warned you once. Go back to that woman, and I'll strip you of your position. I'll erase your name from this family's history. His voice dropped lower. Deadly. And this time, I'll make sure both of you die. Wei froze. The room turned cold. Rongsheng leaned back in his chair, his eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. I should have eliminated her 5 years ago. This time I won't fail. If Claudia Anchi means more to you than your own life, then so be it. Silence stretched long between them as Wei clenched his fists, so tightly his knuckles turned white. His heart pounded. Then he spoke, voice low, calm, dangerous. Then let this war begin, Mr. Liang Rongsheng. You are no longer my father. He stepped back, his words sharp as glass. And as for your company, your so-called legacy, you can bury it with your greed. He bowed. Slow, final, heavy with meaning, then turned and walked away without another glance. Rongsheng didn't move. He only watched his son walking away with a predator's patience, eyes calculating, cold. Minutes later, Wei slammed his car door shut and exhaled sharply. His hands gripped the steering wheel, every muscle in his body wound tight with fury. He didn't hesitate. He pulled out his phone and dialed. Jean, he said as soon as the call connected. Yes, sir? Find Claudia's apartment. Now. Yes, sir. And once you locate it, send me the coordinates, Wei continued, voice like steel. Also, send the elite bodyguards. 2 on her at all times. Rotating shifts. From now on, she is never to be alone. Jean understood immediately. Consider it done, sir. Wei hung up without another word. The city lights blurred outside the window as he stared at his own reflection. He was tired, angry, but determined. This time, no one would hurt Claudia again. Not even his father.